No, this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Um, so yeah, let's get started. So first, what is self-harm? And if I to the deliberate act of causing physical harm to oneself. Now, this could be anything from burning, cutting, poisoning, banging the head up against a wall, anything that intentionally causes harm toward the person. And what are the signs of self-harm? So things to look out for would be unexpected cuts or bruises on the arms and legs, specifically wearing long sleeves, pants, especially in the summer, noticeable secretive behavior, and this would be above and beyond what is normal for the kid. They might be spending an increasingly amount of time in the bathroom. It's a big one. If you know there's emotional distress, like above and beyond what they should be going through or are going through, finding random items that could be used for self-harming. One thing in particular to keep in mind is there's, those little plastic pencil sharpeners, super easy to unscrew the little screw and take that little, razor blade out. So finding the plastic or the razor blade. And also changes in sleep and eating patterns. And a lot of mental health professionals categorize even eating disorders as a form of self-harm. Okay, so why do kids self-harm? The main big reason to look at would be it's a way for them to cope with overwhelming emotions. So there may not be space in the house for expressing emotions. Emotions may not be allowed. Maybe the parents haven't been very good examples of how to express emotions. It's another way of expressing feelings. It's a way to feel something. So some kids do it to come back from dissociating. It's a way to provide a sense of control of the situation if things feel out of control. Some kids do it as a way of self-punishment or self-criticism. Some kids do it as a response to past trauma, current trauma, or abuse. Some kids do it due to peer influence. You'd be hard pressed to find a group of friends where only one of them is self-harming. And then lastly, it could be the kid could be doing it due to an underlying mental health disorder. This could be depression, anxiety, bipolar. Borderline, you're not really supposed to diagnose kids under the age of 18, but there's it definitely can be a sign of borderline or developing borderline. So question is, why do kids struggle to tell their parents? So a big reason is fear of judgment or rejection, the fear of having shame or guilt heaped on them, fear of consequences, not wanting to add more stress to the parents' already stressful lives, a big fear that their parents might deny, as like say, oh, I don't believe you, or minimize. And that could be either oh, that's not so bad, or you should just go deeper. That's not so. I've heard lots of different things there. And then the last one, previous negative influence. So that would be the kid has approached the parent before and the parent has responded negatively. So the kid doesn't necessarily feel safe to tell their parent this. Okay, so here we're going to talk about the common reactions from couples. And so here you've got the shock and denial, the anger, frustration, guilt, shame, fear and worry, the overreaction, confusion and helplessness. And then the hope would be supportive and understanding. So some of you know that I have a TikTok page and that I've been using to help parents and their kids who self-harm, educate them and kind of help them. It's kind of like a support group. And what I due to this topic, I pulled from one post and took the responses from the kids. So this isn't scientific. This is just from one TikTok post, the responses from the kids. And it was their response as to how they interpreted their parents' initial reaction when they were told or found out that their kids were self-harming. So out of 120 responses, 25.1%, so 30 kids said that their parents responded with anger, yelling, and threats of violence. Then you have the smaller number, 17.5%, did nothing, was the initial response. So Sylvie would probably fall into that line. And then the most fascinating one for me was 3.3%. So only 4 out of the 120 parents' initial response was empathy and offering help. You can see why kids would have trouble telling their parents or wanting to tell their parents. So this goes into what are the effects on of a child who self-harms on the couple's relationship. So here you have tons of effects. You've got communication breakdowns due to emotional stress of having to deal with a kid who's self-harming, and then also the inability to cope with emotions. If the kid's never learned how to cope with emotions, the parent has probably never learned how to cope with emotions. And then you have the deferring parenting skills and strengths come out. So you have disagreements on how to handle the child in the situation, what to do when. And then you have the loss of the partnership. So one or both parents may take all of their energy and put it toward the child, and then you have there's no relationship building or partnership between the couple. And then on the other hand, you also have no self-care between for each of the couples on their own. And that includes no self-care as far as like their relationship as intimate partners. I do want to say that nothing will prepare a parent for the moment they walk into the bathroom and see their child on the ground with blood dripping down their arms and looking at you helpless because they don't know what's going on. So it's those stressors that aren't necessarily talked about between couples, especially when the couple doesn't have this close relationship. And then on top of that, you have the stressors of life, then the stressors of the other kids, and then the stressors of the kiddo who you don't know is okay or not. So how do you treat the couple that comes in? And typically what happens is the couple, one or both parents, throws the kid at the therapist and says, fix my kid. So in the research that I found, there needs to be this holistic, systemic treatment of not just the kid who's self-harming, but the family. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get the family mental history from the parents. Has there been any suicide attempts that you know of? Is there any mental health history? Depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, borderline, anything. Relational history, genogram's really good with that kind of stuff. Just to get it all down so you can see it and see if there are any patterns and things to look for when you're meeting with the kiddo. Then you need to educate the couple on self-harming, and we talked about that earlier in this slideshow. What is it? Why could they be doing it? What are some good coping skills to, and help the kid with? So come at it as a partnering with your kid, coming alongside the kid and help them in their journey rather than demand and enforce and really alienate your kiddo. The next thing would be to create the space for the couples to express and manage their feelings of guilt or sense of responsibility for their child's behavior. This could be done through EFT or the Dancing with the Tango model that we did last week. Just helping them express their feelings in a place that's safe. So many parents think back and go, what did I do wrong? What did I say? How did I ruin my kid? What the hell is going on? When a couple can do this in a safe place, when one in the couple starts to sink, the other one can come up underneath them and help them kind of raise them up and do it in a really it's that support network that you need so desperately, especially as a couple working through this. Then at the same time, work with the couple to strengthen their relationship bonds, improve communication, and build resilience. This would be, through the Gottman method, working through the different exercises at the end of each chapter our textbooks, having them get those love map cards on the app and work through those, make sure they have a certain amount of time a week to spend together where it's just them, and make sure they work on self-care so they're taking care of themselves, because living with a kid who's self-harming can be draining. It can be a really, really exhausting journey. And if the couple is not healthy, if they're not emotionally connected, if they're not able to support each other, it just adds much more strain and stress to the whole family as a system. And then lastly, to make sure you work with the family together to address any trauma or emotional relational issues that have come up due to the self-harming child. And this has to include the kids that are not self-harming. So those siblings, they may have walked into the bathroom while the child was on the floor bleeding. They may have been the self-harmer's confidant. They may have been the phone call from the friend who was telling them to go check on their sibling because they might be trying to hurt themselves. So when one person in the family is hurting, it affects everyone else. So treating the whole family is so important in this situation. So lastly, as far as the resources go, the first thing I tell my couples to do is find a community. There's in-person communities. NAMI has in-person communities. However, probably the easiest, quickest place to join is online groups. So Facebook has a support group, multiple support groups for parents of kids who self-harm. You can just go on Facebook, look at groups. The one I joined, it started with 5,000 parents. Now there's over 10,000 parents. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a place to vent, a place to learn, a place to grow, a place for other parents to really give you kind of this virtual hug. And then you've got the TikTok and the Instagram page communities if that's something your parents are interested in, or your couples. Then we've got books. These books are super helpful as far as helping the couple educate themselves on self-injury, self-harm, helping them figure out how to parent this child who is struggling with their mental health.